today's video we are going to be looking at 50 footballers today that you didn't know were still playing. So, I found 50 footballers for you guys today who I think the majority of you probably thought had retired, or, guys who you haven't heard their name in years but are actually still playing, and some of these guys are playing at a quite high level. Some of them are playing in some of the most random places ever. But these are sort of, I guess a lot of these are sort of like in that 2010s era footballers. But there's still a lot of them knocking about, so I thought it would be quite a fun one just to look through that, and I'm going to give you 50 here, players who you probably thought had retired, but are still going strong in 2025. I'll tell you a little bit about where they are right now and sort of what they did after they left their club, which you probably all remember them from. But anyways, let's just jump straight into it. So, number one, in no particular order, Dejan Lovren, PAOK, Greece. A Premier League and Champions League winner with Liverpool and a key player during Croatia's run to the World Cup final. Lovren has played in 3 different countries since leaving the Reds in 2020. He initially moved to Zenit, where he played 3 seasons there before moving to Lyon, where he played a majority of his football prior to Liverpool. In the summer of 2024, Lovren moved to PAOK on a free, and the 36-year-old was hampered by injuries last year, so didn't really play too much, but he's back to full fitness now and is playing regularly in the Greek league. Number 2, Aaron Ramsey, Pumas, Mexico. One of the most surprising on this entire list here is Aaron Ramsey, who prior to making his move to Pumas was actually being considered for Cardiff's managerial role. The 34-year-old ended a injury-hit season following the relegation with Cardiff to League One, where he was actually their interim manager for a bit, and he decided to make a fresh start in Mexico, of all places. Yeah, so random. Anyways, he's actually doing okay. He netted a 90-second winner in his second game, although reports are he might leave Mexico after his dog was abducted. Yeah, even more random. Number 3, Shinji Kagawa, Cerezo Osaka, Japan. Kagawa only spent 2 years in England, but he quickly established himself as a cult hero at Manchester United. The Japanese playmaker won the Premier League during his debut season and produced a handful of memorable moments, including his hat-trick against Norwich. He's undoubtedly better known for his time with Dortmund, where he racked over 200 appearances, and fans of Kagawa will be pleased to know that he is still producing the goods at the age of 36. He rejoined his boyhood club Cerezo Osaka in 2023 and still produces magic on a semi-regular basis. Number 4, Lucas Moura, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Lucas Moura is best known for his incredible brace versus Ajax in the Champions League, cementing himself in Spurs history. He didn't really do too much after that though, and after being released by Spurs in 2023, the attacker returned home on a short-term deal with boyhood club Sao Paulo, but he has refound his mojo and has extended his stay. He's won a Copa do Brasil and Super Cup and has scored 20 goals in 80 games during his second stint. And last year, even received his first Brazil cap in 6 years. It's nice to see Mora back enjoying his football again after his career in Europe fizzled out. Number 5, Stevan Jovetic, Ammonia, Cyprus. Had it not been for constant injuries, who knows just how good Jovetic could have gone on to become. Despite multiple setbacks, he has still played for some of the biggest clubs in Europe, having had stints with the likes of Inter Milan and Manchester City. After finding himself as a free agent last summer, he eventually decided to join Ammonia on a 2-year deal. And Jovetic is showing his class this season in a little career resurgence, scoring 5 goals in 7 Conference League qualifying games this season, and age 35 is actually still playing regularly for the Montenegro national team. Number 6, William Carvalho, Pachuca, Mexico. William Carvalho has had one of the weirdest careers in football. While at Sporting, he was tearing it up, and after winning the Euros as a key player for Portugal, he was linked to pretty much everyone every summer in terms of a big move, with so many big clubs interested. For whatever reason though, it never happened, and he stayed at Sporting before eventually leaving for Real Betis. He did pretty well there, but after enduring a injury-hit final season, he left Europe to join Mexican side FC Pachuca, where he has made just 1 appearance so far. That really is a name I haven't heard in a long time, to be fair. Number 7, Joao Mario, AEK Athens, Greece. Joao Mario has played for so many clubs, so it's probably no surprise to see him still knocking about. He has played for West Ham, Inter Milan, Sporting, Lokomotiv Moscow and others. With 56 caps for Portugal, Mario is a tidy and technically accomplished midfielder and is currently out on loan at AEK Athens from Besiktas. Is actually still only 32 years old, which compared to some others on this list really isn't that old, to be fair. Number 8, Martin Braithwaite, Grêmio, Brazil. Martin Braithwaite is really one of the most intriguing men in football. The Middlesbrough flop who ended up playing for Barcelona is now playing in Brazil, having signed for Grêmio in the summer of 2024. And in all fairness to him, he's actually doing really well. He scored twice on his league debut and has scored 23 goals in 52 games for the club, and could easily still be playing in Europe's top 5 leagues, but for all the memes and everything, he's actually doing pretty decent over out in Brazil, but very random. Number 9, Max Meyer, Apol Cyprus. Some of you might remember Meyer as one of the best wonder kids on FIFA back in the day, and during his early years with Schalke, Meyer really was regarded as one of the top prospects in Europe. A nippy playmaker with an eye for goal, plenty of top sides were tracking him. However, his career didn't work out as it had hoped, as he constantly hopped around clubs, playing in England, Germany, Turkey, Switzerland, Denmark, and now Cyprus with Apol. I don't know how you pronounce that name. The crazy thing is that Meyer is still only 30 years old. Who knows, maybe he can have one last dance at fulfilling his potential over in Cyprus. Number 10, Yuto Nagatomo, FC Tokyo Japan. Despite playing for Inter Milan for 9 seasons and racking up over 200 appearances for the club, Nagatomo somehow only got his hands on 1 trophy during his time in Italy. However, he did enjoy some trophy-filled season with Galatasaray before eventually returning to Japan in 2021. Still going strong at 39, the FC Tokyo fullback is actually still getting selected for the Japan squad, which is quite remarkable, and fair play to Nagatomo, who we could even see at the 2026 World Cup aged 40, which would be incredible. Number 11, Javier Hernandez, Guadalajara, Mexico. And I should also say as well, apologies in advance for the poor pronunciation of some of these clubs. Anyways, Chicharito is the poacher's poacher, as fans of Man United will attest. During his successful spell, he was a cult hero and known for being one of the best finishers and super subs in the Premier League. After some successful years in the MLS, the Guadalajaran Inzaghi is back in his hometown, returning to at the beginning of 2024 after leaving for United 14 years ago. The 37-year-old has 3 goals in 31 appearances for his old or new club. Number 12, Baba Rahman, PAOK, Greece. Remarkably, Baba Rahman only left Chelsea in 2023. The left-back spent 7 consecutive seasons out on loan and finally left Chelsea 2 years ago upon his contract expiring. He joined PAOK and has enjoyed a settled period as a regular starter for them, and finally has stayed at a club for a bit of a long period, so that is nice to see. But wow, I couldn't believe Baba Rahman was still playing for us back in 2023, and he's definitely a throwback name, a guy I just forgot existed, to be honest. Number 13, Renato Augusto, Fluminense, Brazil. The Brazilian midfielder left the European game 13 years ago, and if that doesn't fit the billing of footballers you've not thought about him forever, then I'm not sure what will. After making over 100 appearances for Bayer Leverkusen, Renato returned to Brazil and signed for Corinthians back in 2013. He subsequently spent 5 years in China before returning to Corinthians and is still going at the age of 37 with Fluminense. Number 14, Marcos Rojo, Racing Club, Argentina. Marcos Rojo never quite hit the heights that were originally expected of him at Man United, but he sadly always wore his heart on his sleeve and produced a string of absolutely mad moments, known for being the most rash player in the Premier League. His passion for the game still shines through today, as he now plays for Racing Club in Argentina, having signed from Boca Juniors in 2025 this summer. And age 35, I'm sure, is still 2 fitting players week in, week out. Number 15, Lukas Podolski, Górnik Zabrze, Poland. Podolski has perhaps the most powerful left foot in football history, and you might be shocked to know in 2025 he is still absolutely levering those shots in. The World Cup winner left Arsenal in 2015 before subsequently teaming up with Vissel Kobe and Antalyaspor. The now 40-year-old landed back home in Poland in 2021 and remains an imperative part of Górnik Zabrz's squad. Having had 5 goals last season, but Podolski is still a regular starter in the Polish league, aged 40, and I couldn't quite believe it that Podolski is still playing to this day. He was a baller back in the day. I did really like him. Number 16, Manuel Lanzini, Velas Sarsfield, Argentina. During his best years at West Ham, Lanzini always had a trick or two up his sleeve and was really adored by West Ham fans as a cult hero. After falling down the pecking order due to injuries, the midfielder returned to his old club in Argentina, River Plate, in 2023. He managed to get his hands on a couple of trophies, but has since moved to Vélez Sarsfield, aged 32 years old. Number 17, Wesley, Shenzhen Peng City, China. Aston Villa paid $22 million for Wesley in 2019, hoping the Brazilian striker would help establish them as a Premier League team. That did not happen, as he would score 5 goals before suffering a cruciate ligament injury. Still only 28, Wesley has somehow made his way to Shenzhen via spells at Stoke and Turkish club Fatih Karagümrük. He has scored 10 goals in 12 games since his move, to be fair, and maybe has finally found his level. Number 18, Juan Mata, Melbourne Victory, Australia. A certified Premier League legend, Mata lit up England's top flight with his performances at Chelsea and Man United between 2011 and 2022. The World Cup winner left United for Galatasaray before moving to Japan and eventually trekking down under to sign for the Western Sydney Wanderers. He made just 7 starts last season and has since joined Melbourne Victory for more playing time. At age 37, Juan is still eager to play week in, week out, so fair play to him. Another one which I genuinely was shocked to see that Juan Mata is still playing, but absolutely loved it, so I'm glad he is. Number 19, Domagoj Vida, AEK Athens, Greece. A stalwart in Croatia's fairy tale World Cup campaign of 2018 and 2022, Vida has spent the majority of his club career with Eastern European giants like Dinamo Zagreb, Dinamo Kyiv and Besiktas. Now firmly in the twilight of his playing days, the centre-back joined AEK Athens in 2022 and has gone on to make 106 appearances for the club. Fair play, and the streets won't forget that Vida Lovren partnership, and now they're actually playing in the same league against each other, which is pretty wholesome. Number 20, Yannick Bolasie, Cruzeiro, Brazil. One of the most skillful and fun players to watch at Crystal Palace and Everton, winger Yannick Bolasie is still going strong at the age of 36. After leaving Everton for Turkey in 2021, Bolasie returned to the UK to play for Swansea before joining Brazilian side Cruzeiro. After a successful stint in South America, he has signed for another Brazilian side, and he has hit the ground running with 3 goals and assists in his first 10 games. At first, it really does feel random to imagine Bolasie in Brazil, but actually he was probably the most Brazilian Congolese of all time with the way he played football in his prime. Number 21, Sergio Canales, Montero, Mexico. Sergio Canales was considered a future Real Madrid star after joining in 2010, but he didn't really make it at Real Madrid and spent most of his career at Valencia, Sociedad and Betis. He did pretty well though in La Liga, particularly at Betis, and eventually left the club in 2023 free for Mexico. Since moving to Mexico, the Spaniard has scored a very impressive 39 goals in 95 games and could definitely still do it in a European top league. Number 22, Sergio Romero, Boca Juniors, Argentina. Considering their lack of goalkeeping options these days, Man United were truly blessed when they had Romero and a prime De Gea to choose between. After spending a large bulk of his career as a backup keeper, it's nice to see that he is getting plenty of action these days. The 38-year-old joined Boca in 2022 and really hasn't looked back. Since heading back to Argentina, Romero has made 88 appearances, which is substantially more than he did during his entire 6 years at Old Trafford. Number 23, Federico Macheda, Esteros, Tripolis, Greece. Famous for scoring one of the best and most iconic title-winning goals in Prem history, Macheda seemingly had the world at his feet when he rifled in that goal against Villa in 2009. While many thought it was the beginning of a great career, the reality is that it failed to materialise. He left the club in 2014 and moved to Cardiff permanently before spells at Novara, Panathinaikos and Ankargu, before arriving at Greek club Asteras Tripolis in 2024, where he's actually not doing that bad. Number 24, Keylor Navas, Pumas, Mexico. Who would have thought in 2025 Aaron Ramsey and Keylor Navas would be teammates in Mexico for Pumas? The odds of that happening back in 2018 when both were playing for Real Madrid and Juventus would have been ridiculous. But along with Ramsey, Pumas also managed to sign Navas this summer. The former Real Madrid and PSG man only spent 6 months playing in Argentina before this because of falling out and is now seeing out his career in Mexico. Number 25, Hulk, Atletico Mineiro, Brazil. Best known for his bulky frame and explosive left foot, you'll be pleased to know that Hulk is still doing the business for Atletico Mineiro today, aged 39. The striker has scored 97 goals and 185 appearances since returning to Brazil in 2021, which is a really good record. Looking back, Hulk really had one of the weirdest career paths of all time, having played in Japan, Russia, China, Brazil and Portugal. Either way, what a baller he was. Right, number 30, Jose Fontes, Casabia, Portugal. After making his mark at Southampton and West Ham, Jose Fontes opted to sign for Dalian Yilang in China. As he was 33 at the time, most would have assumed that would be it for his career. Well, his spell in China only lasted around 5 months before he moved to Lille and subsequently Sporting Braga, before arriving at Casabia last year. At 41, remarkably, the Euros winner played 25 games last season in Portugal's top flight and continues to play for the club this season as club captain. Number 31, Andriy Yarmolenko, Dynamo Kyiv, Ukraine. Unfairly described as a karaoke Iron Robin, Yarmolenko did more than some expected at West Ham, considering how he flopped at Dortmund. A late winner against Chelsea, an emotional goal against Villa, and the clincher against Sevilla was enough to earn him a bit of a cult status at West Ham. Anyways, he is now back in his native Ukraine and playing for Dynamo Kyiv, who are playing in the Conference League as well this season. Number 32, Edinson Cavani. Now 38, you'll be pleased to learn that El Matador is still scoring goals with impressive regularity. Since joining Boca in 2023, the Uruguayan has bagged 27 goals in 73 games, which is pretty good for someone aged 38. He also played in the Club World Cup as Boca were eliminated in the group stage and is enjoying a nice end to his fantastic footballing career over in Argentina. Number 33, Roque Santa Cruz, Club Leparda, Paraguay. Now here's one really did stump me, to be honest. Roque Santa Cruz emerged through the youth ranks of Olympia in 1997 before bursting onto the scene with Bayern Munich in 1999. He had great spells at Blackburn and then played for Man City, Betis and Malaga. In 2016, the Paraguayan moved back home, aged 33, and like most of us, you probably thought, well, that was it. But at the age of 44, Santa Cruz is still going strong, playing in Paraguay's top flight for Club Leparda. The fact that this guy made his breakthrough in 1999 and it's still playing to this day, fair play, because he must take great care of his body and absolutely love the game. Number 34, Vagner Love, Retro, Brazil. Vagner Love is the definition of the streets won't forget. He will be remembered for his eccentric hairstyles, skills and cannon of his shots, and of course his iconic FIFA card for CSK Moscow back in the day. Now a large chunk of his career was spent in Moscow, and after leaving the club in 2013, many just assume he disappeared. Now he actually had some success in Europe, but most of his success has come in Brazil. In 2023 he left a club at 38, but still felt he had more to give, and age 41 is still playing professional football in Brazil. Number 35, Arturo Vidal, Colo Colo, Chile. Nicknamed the Warrior, Arturo Vidal is one of the most non-English Brexit players of recent history. His no-nonsense approach in the heart of midfield got under many players' skins, and he was established as one of Europe's top defensive midfielders during his time at Juve. After leaving the Serie A in 2015, the Chilean had stints with Bayern Munich, Barca and Inter, before leaving in 2022. With his career at a crossroads, it looked like he was going to call it quits at the age of 34, until Flamengo took a gamble on him. Now at 38, Vidal joined Colo Colo in his native Chile in 2024, where he had one of the most bizarre introductions to fans, as he was introduced to fans as a knight riding a horse on the pitch. Yeah, one of the most Vidal things of all time. Number 36, Radja Nainggolan, Lokeren, Belgium. The Mohawk machine was the type of midfielder no one wanted to come up against in his prime. As hard as rocks with a lethal strike, Nainggolan was often linked with big clubs, but it never came to fruition. Instead, the Belgian spent most of his career playing for Roma and a bit for Milan. He also had a short stint at Cagliari before returning to Belgium, where he was actually suspended from his team for smoking on the team bench. At 36, he took his talents to Indonesia, but actually now 37 has returned to Europe, playing in Belgium's second division for Lokeren. Number 37, Adel Taarabt, Sharaj, UAE. One of the greatest longest streets won't forget ballers in Premier League history. Taarabt's 2010-11 campaign with QPR was special. Even in his twilight days, Moroccan still is rinsing defenders. Taarabt had a good spell with Benfica before leaving in 2022 to play for Al Nassr. No, not that one. A team in the UAE. And unsurprisingly, he's looked levels above the competition. Since joining the UAE League, he has got 21 goals in 55 games, but joined a new UAE club this year, aged 36. Number 38, Alan, Botafogo, Brazil. Remember Alan from his stints with Napoli and Everton? The Brazilian midfielder was quality in Naples and had some great spells in Merseyside too. He decided to call it quits on his career in Europe in 2022 and opted to join UAE side Al Wahda on a 2-year deal. His contract expired in 2024 and most would have thought that would be it, but he decided to return to Brazil, joining Botafogo, and age 34 is still going strong in that midfield and also featured at a Club World Cup this summer. Number 39, Kamil Glik, Cracovia, Poland. One of the few players from that infamous Monaco title-winning side in 2016 who didn't leave straight away. Kamil Glik was immense at centre-back that season, and after that spent some time in Serie A before eventually returning home to Poland in 2023. Remarkably, Glik has still been a stalwart for Poland at the back, and as one of their best centre-backs over the last decade or so, started for them at the 2022 World Cup, aged 34. That would be the end of his international career, but his club career is still going strong, as he remains in the top division of Poland, aged 37. Number 40, Hugo Rodallega, Santa Fe, Colombia. A proper throwback. Hugo Rodallega is yet another streets won't forget Premier League player. At points, he was quality for Wigan when they were in the Premier League, and actually is still their all-time Premier League top goal scorer. The fact he was playing for Wigan when they were in the Prem, and they haven't been in the Prem for 12 years, and that was probably Rodallega's prime, tells you how crazy it is that this guy is still playing. Anyways, he went to Turkey after that, and he actually did bag a lot of goals before going to Brazil, and then Colombia, where he's actually been ridiculous. 46 goals in 104 games, including 16 in 26 games in 2025. Rodallega, age 40, is arguably in the peak of his career right now, so fair play to him. Number 41, Radamel Falcao, Colombia. One of the greatest Colombian footballers of all time, prime Falcao was a monster. Before his massive injury, he looked like a generational striker, and while his career didn't quite go as planned, he still did have a fantastic career. And after leaving Europe in 2024, well, you probably thought that was it. Well, age 39, Falcao is still playing football back in his native country. He played 2 seasons for a club in Colombia and did a pretty solid job, but he has just left the club, so I'm not sure if he's going to call it quits or find a new one. We'll have to wait and see. Number 42, Victor Wanyama, Dunfermline, Scotland. What a beast Victor Wanyama was. One of the few Kenyans to make it to such a high level, Wanyama made his name for Celtic and Southampton before joining Spurs, where he had some good seasons and moments, including that memorable goal versus Liverpool. But in the end, his Spurs career fizzled out, and in Wanyama is back in Europe, and he's back in Scotland playing for second-tier side Dunfermline. Yeah, really random, but sure. Number 43, Dimitri Payet, Brazil. Dimitri Payet was just pure silk at West Ham. He did some incredible things and was out of this world in the 2015-16 season. It looked like he was destined to become the Premier League's next big talent, but instead felt homesick and moved back to Marseille in 2017. He stayed at Marseille until 2023 when he was 35, and most thought he would probably just retire there, but he actually went to play in Brazil for Vasco da Gama. And to be fair, sort of like Bolasie, he is one of the most Brazilian non-Brazilians I could think of. He spent 3 years there, but like Falcao has just left the club, so I'm not sure if he'll continue playing as he is 38. But boy, would I love to see him back in Europe, because what a baller Payet was. Number 44, Oscar, Sao Paulo, Brazil. The former Chelsea player became really the first big name ever to leave Europe for the money after he joined Chinese side Shanghai Ports. It was essentially the Saudi move, but the Chinese equivalent. However, in fairness, he stayed there for most of his career, and his tears when he left the club in 2024 suggested he really had grown fond of the club. After his time in China, Oscar headed home to Brazil and Sao Paulo, where it had begun. He signed a 3-year deal at the end of December 2024 and made his second debut back in January, and he remains there today. But he does remain a what could have been player, as if he didn't chase that bag, we could have been looking at a whole different story with Oscar. Number 45, Nabil Fekir, Al Jazeera, UAE. Wow, what a player Prime Fekir was. Similar to William Carvalho, he's had an odd career, as while he was destroying the French league for Lyon, he was linked year after year with a big move, but it never happened, of course, with that infamous failed transfer to Liverpool in 2018. Now after that deal collapsed, Fekir moved to Betis, where he did okay, but never really reached the heights that were expected. And he left Betis actually just last season, and moved to the UAE, where he remains today. Number 46, Marco Verratti, Al Duali, Qatar. One of the most talented midfielders of his generation, Marco Verratti was beautiful to watch. His playmaking ability was amazing, and he probably would have got more recognition had he not spent the most of his career in PSG. After a decade at the club, Verratti departed in 2023 for the Qatar, with Al Duali. He remains there today, and like Fekir is actually only 32, so I reckon could easily still go into Europe and do very well, but he's opted for a nice retirement in the Middle East and to get paid, so yeah, fair play. Number 47, Chris Smalling, Al Fayha, Saudi Arabia. Chris Smaldini, the streets won't forget that infamous Smalling and Jones partnership for Man United that was getting cooked week in, week out. In all seriousness, Smalling spent a decade at Man United and enjoyed a great spell at Roma, before eventually calling it quits in Europe, moving to Saudi, where aged 35 he remains today. He's a player who I definitely forgot about, but wow, I certainly won't forget that infamous FIFA 17 Smalling Butland Bailly trio. If you know, you know. Number 48, Mamadou Sakho, Torpedo, Georgia. A wonder kid back in the days. When he emerged from PSG as the next big thing, Sakho was the youngest player ever to captain a league side. However, he massively flopped at Liverpool and didn't really do too much for Palace either, eventually returning to France with Montpellier. He left in 2023 for one of the most random moves of all time, joining Tupido Kutaisi in Georgia, and he still plays there today, age 35. Yeah, I'm not sure too many people would have thought about he would end up there after he broke through at PSG, but the streets won't forget that infamous video with him and Blaise Matuidi though. Number 49, Kostas Manolas, Pansiox, Greece. The Greek god in Rome is really all that needs to be said about this man. That one goal and that one commentary line from Peter Jury has cemented Manolas in Champions League history. Well, you'll be shocked to know the Greek god is still playing football, but actually not at a professional level anymore. After leaving Italy in 2022, he returned briefly in 2024, but then left again for Greece to play for Panaxios, who are actually an amateur Greek club. Now I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's just for the love of the game, maybe it's his boyhood club, maybe he owns the club, I do not know. But it's pretty crazy that, he's 34 and he's playing amateur Greek football compared to others on this list. I don't really know what's going on there, but yeah. Alright, and finally number 50 is Julian Draxler, Al Ahly Qatar. We end off with another sort of failed wonder kid. Julian Draxler is a name a lot of people might remember from his Schalke days, where he burst onto the scene and looked like the next big thing. However, things never quite worked out as expected, as he made the move to PSG and did okay, but never became the superstar we all anticipated. He's a name, like me, you probably hadn't heard in years. Well, that's because after he left PSG in 2023, he went to play in Qatar, which is where he remains today, absolutely cooking the league with 18 goals in 29 games. He is 32 now, but it's quite sad, as I really would have liked him to give it one last go in Europe after leaving PSG, as he's certainly got the ability, but he's gone and got the cash, so you do you. But there we go. Those are 50 players who you probably didn't realise were still playing football today. Hopefully you sort of brought back a bit of nostalgia, a bit of a fun one there. If you guys have enjoyed it, please do leave